reflect a little bit on where the growth prospects and growth opportunities may lie. First of all, if we look at the global labor, we are looking at a situation where, due to the COVID crisis, the year 2020, as we reflect upon it, we are looking at a fifth of the global labor in 2030 coming from Africa. Of that, 10 to 15 million new jobs for youth, there will only be 3. There's a requirement. There's 10 to 3 million young people coming out in 2030, and of that, only 3 million new jobs are created. And out of all that, a third of the global youth population is coming out of Africa. So when we look at the very high level of youth unemployment, which can be as high as 90% or more, and the drop in income for the informal sector during this period, it really means that we are faced with economies where employment without legal or social protection is the order of the day, low pay, erratic hours, and uncertain employment status. The youth of today need to be engaged as we start to relook at how we get out of this, if I can say, lockdown economy. How do we get out of the situation that we are in? The youth of today are the custodians should be the custodians of the pandemic response, so that in future generations, they have the tools with which to respond in terms of pitfalls and challenges that may come their way. And therefore, the imperative for all of us is to look at how we can invest in young people to tackle skills, in particular, skills shortages that could provide a future proof for the recovery and impact of COVID. Job creation and training programs for young people are imperative for us to address the immediate aftermath. And let us remember that when we talk about growth of the economies in Africa, it's not just about how we rebound out of COVID. It is how we entrench the sustainability and how we give our young people the opportunities to build their skills in the workplace as they look at opportunities beyond the continent as well.
My presentation will focus on 3 elements. First of all, just a recap of some of the elements that were mentioned yesterday and that were also mentioned by the ambassador in the previous presentation. And then I would like to look at how we can tackle the looming economic crisis and build those bridges for growth in Africa. And there I would particularly focus on what could be done in Africa by Africans themselves. But secondly, I would also like to focus on what the international community, in casu the European Union, could possibly provide in terms of support to the economic growth in Africa. What can be done to tackle some of these elements of undoubtedly crisis that is looming? I think in the short term, many international observers would say, yes, let's put more money, more aid money into Africa. Let's reduce the Africa's debt service. I think that's absolutely all needed in the short term. But in the medium and longer term, I think we should seize this opportunity for more fundamental and structural reforms. We will see that aid levels will go down. It was mentioned also yesterday by Mr. Shitio of Chatham House. The UK will reduce its aid levels from 0.7 to 0.5. So it is time to build that African resilience that has been mentioned so many times in the various presentations. And if I just refer to a report of the African Union, the Africa's governance response to COVID-19 suggests that Africa should really take advantage now of the prevailing pandemic to boost its internal productive capacity and become more self-sufficient. And so this brings me to 3 actions that could help to stimulate growth. And many of these elements have already been mentioned. First of all, it's important to improve the sustainable value chains by investing in manufacturing and industrialization. It was mentioned also by the ambassador. A second element is the regional integration and trade agenda. Third action, and I think that's probably the most important one to break away from the dependency relationship, is the domestic resource mobilization. The increase of the volumes of tax collection and the fair distribution of taxation is a big top priority. If you know that Africa on average is having a tax rate that is less than 15%.